All right. And we are live for the first Electrek podcast of 2025. I'm Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintrom. How are you doing today, Seth?
I'm good.
Feeling the new year?
Feeling it.
All right, so first show of the year is going to be a big one. Obviously, we're going to dive into all the latest Q4 numbers from EV companies and automakers, legacy automakers that also sell EVs. Throughout the show, starting with Tesla, the biggest EV automaker out there, and also very interesting quarter for Tesla. And then we're gonna dive into a little bit a few other things, including the energy storage business for Tesla, the Cybertruck burning down, which interesting thing. It might not be the one that you think about right now. You're gonna have to stay tuned for that. And yeah, and I'm gonna look at a little bit at the two Chinese numbers too that I think are interesting. And then, as usual, we're going to take you guys' questions, you guys' comments, or the other topic in the EV world that you want us to discuss. You can put them in the comment section below, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. We already have a bunch of comments today. We have John who says Roadster going to production in 2025. Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think so.
Every year it goes into production. All right, let's start. Yeah, we'll start with the Tesla numbers. So, straight up, let's just do the numbers. Model 3 Model Y came in at 471,000 units, well, just short of 472,000 units. And other vehicles, other models, which Tesla are rebel with the opacity of the breakdown of deliveries, came in at 23,600 for a total of 495,572 units. So that's down from the consensus, the Wall Street consensus of 507,000 people were expecting, but that's not really the headline here. The headline is more because it is a new record. So like most of the headlines are like this is a bad quarter. It is a new record for Tesla by about 20,000 units or so, but the disappointing thing is that it is short on Tesla's own guidance. And that's what's interesting because Tesla, if you haven't been following for a while, Tesla doesn't really release quarterly guidances. For the longest time, they used to back in the day, but for the longest time now, and still since things have been going well for the company, Tesla has been simply guiding 50% increase in growth, 50% growth in deliveries every year, with some years being down from that, some years being up. Now, obviously, 2024, it wasn't going to be that. And Tesla was clear for that late last year. They were like, yeah, we don't think that we're going to hit nowhere near 50% in 2024 because they called it a pause in growth. And we can get into why that happened. But we weren't, for the longest time, we weren't even sure that Tesla was able to be flat or grow in 2024. But then what happened is that at the last earnings, which was released in late October, so already a month into the quarter, Tesla said that they actually expect to have slight growth in 2024, which basically resulted in a guidance for Tesla for the fourth quarter because you can subtract the deliveries from the first three quarters to the deliveries in 2023, and you end up with 515,000 vehicles in Q4. So it's an actual official guidance from the automaker. And I took that to heart because I've been covering Tesla forever, and I remember when Tesla was giving delivery guidance, and they were pretty good at doing it. Why? Because they were doing it already like a month into the quarter. So and Tesla prides itself on having the best visibility into its sales because they have the direct sell models, the most data in the industry, so they can tell you pretty well how things are going for the quarter. If they're already a month into it, they already have a backlog. So I was like, you know what? Like, and I saw the consensus from the Wall Street at below the guidance. I saw Troy Tesla, who's one of the best analysts for that on Twitter. Who came in, I think, at 501, if I remember correctly. I'm like, man, this is pretty low. I'm like, if Tesla has great visibility in it, I wouldn't be surprised if they do it unless they drop the ball, and they dropped the ball. They did because they came in way below that, over 20,000 units or more, because they were actually, they were guiding growth. So that would assume like at least like a little percent or something. So more than 20,000 units likely. So instead now they are down for the full year a little bit more than 1%, which is not massive, obviously, But now the Tesla fans out there, and especially Tesla shareholders, are scrambling to explain it, saying that, yeah, the auto industry is down as a whole, true. But the EV industry is not down. Excluding Tesla, the EV industry is up in 2024 in a big way worldwide. In China, it's up. In Europe, it's up. In the US, I think the numbers are not fully in now, but it might be up too, excluding Tesla, obviously. Ford, I think, is up like 20% or something. Like it is, people are up. Not Tesla, though. So there's room to be concerned. Also, Tesla is not growing its deliveries despite adding the Cybertruck to the lineup in 2024 for a full year, because they started production in late 2023. Having the biggest discounts and incentives on its vehicle ever, having the threat of the tax credit going away, even though like there's a timing issue on that. It went away or has been reduced in some other markets, including here in Quebec. It was reduced and it helped boost Tesla sales. So there's a lot of things that help Tesla in 2024, and including its own discounts, including its own incentive, and a new vehicle to line up, and still they couldn't grow. So I think there's serious room for concern here. I think people should ask themselves why this is happening. Things as simple as like Elon's political turn affecting the credibility of Tesla, affecting how Tesla is viewed, is a very likely suspect here. Obviously, competition also is improving greatly, and we'll get into that competition in a moment. But this is something to be concerned about. The lease accounting has been up too. It basically doubled on all of Tesla's vehicle, which in the U.S. that's normal because like the loopholes that comes with the lease accounting for the tax credit. So we're not too surprised here. And Tesla is still below most other EV automakers when it comes to lease operating leases. So something to take into account, to be fair. So you see right there you have the total production and delivery numbers, sort of 1.8 million, which was last year. So Tesla went from 38% growth in 2023, which was still below the 50% guidance, to 1% decrease in growth, in minus 1% decline in growth in 2024. So I think it's objectively a bad year for Tesla, even though people try to splice it one way or the other. Production is down too, which is, when you had a new vehicle to the lineup. Also, 2023, Tesla had production issues, was still, feeling the tail end of the supply chain issue that came with the pandemic. They had to shut down Gigafactory Berlin for a while. There was a bunch of issues there, which were not felt as much in 2024. Tesla had fully ramped up Berlin, fully ramped up Texas, trying to expand Shanghai. There was a Model 3 switch off that affected the early part of 2024, but production was down too in last quarter. So it's a weird situation, I think, for Tesla. The silver lining, though, it is the deployment. This is a funny part. I actually had to remember. I was thinking, when did Tesla actually start reporting deployment of energy storage with their quarterly release of production and deliveries of vehicles? Do you have an idea, Seth?
No idea.
All right. When it pure coincidence, it matches exactly when Tesla had a down quarter for the first time in a long time, which was Q1 2024. So in Q1 2024, Tesla was down in vehicle deliveries, and they reported their energy storage deployment for the first time through the release, because it was a great quarter for that, and since then all year they've done that. And of course, the second quarter of 2024 was a huge one, 9.4 gigawatt hour. It went down a little bit last quarter, but still up crazy year over year, because it is a booming business for Tesla. And now a new record of 11 gigawatt hour, which is massive. So congrats to everyone involved. That's a crazy amount of energy storage dropping. All right. The other interesting thing in Tesla's release is the Cybertruck. Again, Tesla being super opaque, so we have to do some digging ourselves, some little math here and there, and to try to figure out the Cybertruck sales. And people like to call me a Tesla haters these days, using headlines like Tesla Cybertruck sales are disastrous. But hear me out here. I think it is a perfectly fair headline. Let me explain to you why. So Tesla again bundles up Model S, X, Cybertruck, Tesla Semi into a single category of other vehicles, other models. And so we don't have a clear idea of what it is, but we know we have a good sense of how many Model S and X sales Tesla is doing with tracking them over the last few years, quarter to quarter, over year comparison, and we estimate that Tesla delivered between 9,000 and 12,000 Cybertruck. And I see a lot of our analysts, including Troy Teslike, which within 1% of Tesla's, maybe within 1.5% of Tesla's delivery records this quarter. And he says it's closer to 9,000 in Q4. So, even if that's not right, what it means basically is that quarter to quarter, from Q3 to Q4, Cybertruck sales were either flat or down, most likely down. Despite in Q4, Tesla switching from the Foundation series to the non-Foundation series, which is $20,000 less expensive, having continued ramp up production, and we know the production is not a problem at this point. Like there was a 3-day shutdown of production in December, but regardless of that, there's a ton of inventory out there, and there's a ton of incentives. Tesla put a ton of incentives to buy the Cybertruck in Q4, so it's not a production issue; it's a demand issue, and it resulted in being down despite releasing the cheaper vehicles. Well, personally, I thought like, my only hope for the Cybertruck is like, the price is going to get cheaper, and especially next year with a single motor. Now we have some good news on the tax credit front. So the dual motor Cybertruck has been added to the eligibility list from the IRS for the tax credit, although for how long it's obviously a real question. But now I'm like, all right, how much a cheaper Cybertruck is going to help it sell if this happened in Q4, where Tesla opens up Cybertruck to non-reservation holder, launches the non-Foundation series for $20,000 cheaper, and couldn't even sell as many of them as in Q3. It is wild. Like, it is not going well for the Cybertruck, and it's not. I mean, regardless if it's going well or not, I've been saying it for over a year now. I think Cybertruck was unquestionably a mistake. It resulted in this, what Tesla call a pause in between growth phases. It is a Cybertruck. The focus on the Cybertruck over the last few years, instead of a cheaper vehicle or more utilitarian, wide appeal vehicles, which was completely on Elon Musk, this focus has created this lack of growth, because now Tesla's only vehicle being added to the lineup is the Cybertruck, and it's just not selling. While the Model 3 program is falling, Model Y appears to be peaking based on the sales, and Model S and X also not doing well. So there's room to be concerned right now. We have the biggest electric automaker in the world right now, and the sales are peaking, while this was supposed to be a growth company at 50% rate per year. And I know people are Tesla fans. They just want to say, hey, the auto market is not doing well right now. I agree with you, but the EV market, excluding Tesla, is doing very well. So what's happening here? Anything on that side?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, is it that Elon Musk is spending too much time on Twitter and the campaign trail and not doing enough work behind the scenes? The Model Y should have probably been upgraded already by now. That's its biggest seller. The Cybertruck is obviously polarizing, but you have to wonder if Elon wasn't such a polarizing figure, if there are a lot of people who probably have decided against buying a Tesla because of that. And that's a big problem. Like if there was a normal board at Tesla, is there any chance that Elon would still be there? Like if there was
he violated like Tesla employee guidelines like dozens and dozens of times. Like it's,
Yeah, I mean, there's like tons of just different incidents where like a normal CEO would be gone in a second, like like
mm-hmm,
coaching AI people for his own thing, or
mm-hmm.
taking NVIDIA stuff to his own thing. Like, there's a lot of stuff that just would never have been tolerated by a neutral
Threatening
board.
to move products to his private companies if he doesn't get 20% of the company.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's just a ton of stuff. Now, hopefully, like, I hate to say this, but hopefully, like, this kind of downturn uh, kind of wakes maybe some investors up, maybe wakes the board up. I know it feels unlikely.
I mean, no, I share your hope with that. Like, I think it's the only thing that can work. If they feel it, if they feel it financially, like it will work. The problem with it now is like, yeah, the stock went down yesterday with that news, but now today it's like way up for on zero news whatsoever. And of course, all the usual suspects are like, hey, buy the dip on this. This means nothing. This means nothing. All these delivery numbers means nothing. Buy the dip. Buy the dip. It's like, no, it means something. So I mean, if the Tesla stock would crash over it, because Tesla is supposed to be a growth stock and it's just not growing anymore, and Elon is relying on these false promises with full self driving, and I mean, I don't want to say false promises on the robot because they could happen, but it's like certainly not on his timeline. I think all these things he's relying on that because the core business of Tesla is obviously not growing anymore. There's no doubt about it, and they should be concerned about that. It's just like you said, for the investor base to wake up. For I don't think the board can wake up without the investor base just slapping it in the face a bunch of times because they are completely either in Elon's pockets or they are in a kind of trance and they think he's some kind of infiable deity, but something. So it needs to happen, but unfortunately I just don't see it happening right now because the stock is completely inflated over what I just said, over like the shareholder base not really caring about the core business going away because they think FSD is around the corner, they think Optimus is around the corner, they think these things and they think that's more valuable than what actually is paying the bills at Tesla right now. It's a real concern.
Yep.
All right, another real concern is Cybertrucks burning down. Obviously, the one that made the headlines this week is the one in Las Vegas, the Trump Hotel that completely exploded, and they we're still learning a lot about this event, and I want to be careful the way I approach it because I think there's a lot of misinformation about it, especially coming from Elon and a bunch of other people, because it's still being investigated as a potential terror attack, and I think that could be very likely. But there's also a lot of things coming out in the last day or so that points that it might not have been necessarily an attack. Just today, I think they had an interview with the Turo renter. Can you imagine that? Like you rent your Cybertruck on Turo to a guy and it goes blowing up in front of the Trump Hotel. It's pretty wild.
The renter, not the person who rented it from Turo.
No, the person who rented it for Turo is dead. He's the one inside the car.
Yeah.
So the things that we know for a fact now, there were fireworks in the back of the truck and camping equipment in the back of the truck, including a gas canister and a barbecue. So that those things, if you were planning on exploding the vehicle and those things are in it, yeah, it does help exploding it, but also it might have exploded for other reason, and those things were in the truck because the guy said he was planning on going camping at the Grand Canyon.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. Like, I'm just saying what I know. I'm not trying to like make it sound like the truck exploded by itself. I don't think it did. Elon said that the battery is still intact. I think he's probably right if he says that. Yeah, I don't trust things that Elon says these days at all. But that would be a tough thing to lie about. Carl says he shot himself in the head. Yeah. So one of the other things that came out over the last day is that the driver, right before the explosion, shot himself in the head.
Okay.
But there was no detonation device discovered yet, as far as I'm aware. So there is a chance that the shot he shot himself in the head, and that led to something in the back of the truck exploding, and that was the explosion. That could be it too, because the other things too is like people obviously the connection that they made was the Trump Hotel. So the Cybertruck, Elon, the Trump Hotel, Trump, and the explosion, and the fact that it was a very sad terror attack just a few hours before, or after, I don't know the timing exactly, in New Orleans too. So people thought, all right, this is another attack. But now the family of the driver of the Cybertruck came out saying that he voted for Trump in November. He was a big Trump supporter. He was a military veteran that was, in support of Trump, a right winger. So there's, I think Elon was way too quick to call this an attack, and he said that like he laughed at like if you want to attack someone, you don't use a Cybertruck because it actually helped contain the explosion and things like that. That is wild. That is wild stuff. We should wait, learn more about this thing before calling this guy a terrorist. Like it might it might be very well a situation where this guy like was extremely depressed, wanted to go kill himself at the Grand Canyon, and then he arrived at the Trump Hotel or something, and he was like, I can't take it anymore, and shot himself in the head, and then the car exploded for whatever reason in the back. It might be that too. I'm not saying I know it's that. It might have been that. I don't know. So moving on from that incident took away from a real, very likely battery fire, I think according to the local fire authorities in Atlanta. So this happened just a few hours before the Las Vegas explosion of the Cybertruck in a Tesla parking lot in North Decatur, Georgia, just near Atlanta. A Cybertruck in the Tesla lot caught on fire, and the local authorities here's some pictures of the aftermath here. So the interior is completely burned down. So it's actually similar to what Elon described, even though the fire have affected more the bottom of the vehicle here, so the battery is most likely involved too. Like the tires were not as bad on the Vegas one, and the local news reported that the fire authorities believe that the battery pack started the fire, but it's still under investigation. So this happened on the 31st, early morning and night. So it's we don't have that much details just yet, but it is. We've seen a bunch of other Cybertrucks catch on fire over the last few months. There was the one where the few teenagers were in there and died, unfortunately, very tragic. There was a couple of them in Mexico for some reason, even though there's not that many Cybertrucks in Mexico. But all of those, though, were after crashes. And, we like to point out that, even though electric vehicle can catch on fire, they statistically speaking don't catch on fire at a higher rate than gasoline-powered vehicles. However, most gasoline vehicle, when it catches on fire, it's either like a very old vehicle that has mechanical issues, or it's after a crash. Similarly with electric vehicles, after a crash, if it's a high impact crash, you have lithium ion batteries in there. It can happen, just like it can happen with a tank of gas in your car. However, when an electric vehicle catches on fire while it's not doing anything, where there's no impact going on, it is more concerning. It needs to be investigated. The source needs to be found in order to make electric vehicles safer. Same thing happened with the Bolt EV, for example. We had to investigate that for like half a year before the recall happened. And why I'm a little bit concerned here, even though I cannot link the two events officially together, we've been reporting over the last few days or few weeks that Tesla is not recalling, cannot say recall because they have not issued a recall or even a service bulletin on this, but we have obtained information within Tesla that shows that Tesla has found a cell dent issue within the Cybertruck battery pack, and it started replacing battery pack, including the ones that are sitting at its lots, bringing them back to service center and even Gigafactory Austin to replace the battery packs. I have no proof that the cell dent issue can lead to a fire, so I'm not saying it does, but the fact that you have some Cybertrucks sitting out there catching on fire, and we have this known issue, it could be concerning. It's something to keep an eye on for Tesla. Again, they have not issued a service bulletin on this or a recall just yet, but something to keep an eye on. All right, Rivian today released their delivery numbers. Last time I checked, the stock was up like 20% on this so you can assume good. um, and they were definitely. I just lost the page for some reason. Where did it go? Right here. So what were they? We're talking about the Q4 production of 12,727 units, deliveries of 14,183 units. So the guidance for the whole years was between 50,500 to 52,000. So at 51,579, they came to the higher end of that guidance, and people took that very positively. I think the main reason is that there was this step back last quarter. Last quarter, deliveries were down, production was down, and in Q2 there was also the changeover from the next generation vehicle. That was both the tail end of that was felt in Q3, and also there was a supply chain issue that was reported in Q3. So one, in their statement, Rivian said that the supply chain, the part shortage on the R1 RCV platform is no longer a constraint, and that's their words. So that helped the perception of the Q4. But also, I think after the Q3 setback, Rivian reiterated that they still think they have a real shot at achieving positive gross margin on their vehicle in Q4. And now the fact that they did deliver on the higher end of their guidance in Q4 kind of reinforced that. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but it reinforced it. Obviously, I would, to be fair, I would mention that I believe that Rivian is going to recognize a lot of ZF credits in Q4 that's going to help their gross margin. So it's not just I would hope that they're going to break that down for us so that we can track more their actual COGS and how it improves in Q4, because that was the real goal of the next generation R1s. It's to reduce costs, and we were impressed because if they do achieve that and reduce costs, they have not cut on performance, they have not cut on quality. We were very impressed by the next gen R1. So looking forward to the results, which are coming February 20th. So we still have a good month and a half before that. All right, we're going to move to GM Ford delivery result. I have not read that just yet. I had to bring back my lucid hair this afternoon when we release those reports. So I'm going to find out about them at the same time as you guys. And then we're going to have a little bit more time to talk to you guys. So if you have questions, if you have other topics you want us to discuss in the EV world right now, you can put them in the comment section below when I get to it in a moment. All right, GM surges to become America's number 2 EV sellers as electric SUVs and trucks roll out. So they claimed the second position from Ford, because I think Ford was number 2. Right. And they claimed it. Yeah. All right. GM sold 43,982 electric vehicles in the U.S. in the final 3 months of 2024, up 125% versus last year. So that's impressive. December's was GM's second straight month with over 15,000 EV sales. That's good too. Equinox achieved 18,000 units in Q4, 28,000 units in total in 2024. So obviously the ramp up at the end of the year was significant. And they sold more than half in the last quarter.
And that's almost a half of all of GM's sales is the Equinox. So Equinox is kind of like the Bolt. It's like the big seller.
Yeah. And we're going to talk a bit about the Prologue later too, which is also kind of a GM product sold on their Honda, and that's also doing well. I think it's going better than the Equinox actually.
It's funny because everybody loves the Prologue because it's an Equinox with CarPlay, and that's what everybody wants.
And the Honda logo on it. That's basically
right.
It. All right, the Lyric. I just saw a beautiful Lyric on my way back from Lucid earlier. Lyric is at 8,000 units in Q4. 28,000 units total last year. Whoa. Okay. The Blazer and Silverado EV. Blazer is at just short of 8,000, and Silverado EV at 2,000 units in Q4. Okay. Do we have a full year on that? I would like to have the full year on the Silverado. No. If someone knows it, can put it in the comment section. I'd be curious to know the full year on the Silverado. Blazer not bad at Q4 at 8,000 units too. GMC Hummer EV, that has been ramped up too. So EV 5,000 units. That's just in Q4.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
Each one's a lot.
yeah. Um, just short of 14,000 in 2024, up 331%. Well, I think this year they released the cheaper version at 80,000 too. Like that's I think it's the first year for that, so that helped a lot. And then also they have the Escalade EVs, 670 units, but I think those came out more at the end of the year too. And 1,400 Sierra pickup trucks. The Sierra, I keep hearing some great things. I know you've tried it too.
Yeah, it's a great vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge.
All right. So full year GM is at 114,000 EVs, up 50% from 2023. So obviously, like when we say like the EV market is up, other than Tesla, it's a lot easier to be up 50% on 70,000 units than it is on I don't know how many units Tesla sell in the US. We won't know until exactly next year, but it's in the hundreds of thousands. They said that their EV market share is now 12% in the fourth quarter. It is improving. All right, now let's check out Ford, which apparently lost its second place crown, if you can call that a crown. Everyone forgets the person in second place. But they're doing well too. So I skimmed the numbers earlier. So Ford's total US sell rose 8.8% in Q4. Okay, that's not EV sales, right? Yeah. Let me see EV sales. Okay, EV sales so that's gonna be the whole year. Well, electrified vehicles. I don't like that though. Electrified vehicle includes like the plug-ins, hybrid, 285,000. So that's not it because GM was at 114. If they're second place, that doesn't work. Full electric, the Mustang Mach-E. So yeah, the lineup for full electric is Mustang Mach-E, Lightning, and E-Transit. So let's focus on that. The company sold a record of 30,176 EVs in the fourth quarter, or up 16% year over year, for a total of 97,864 in 2024. So it's a decent amount less than GM. So GM did really good. The Mach-E in the fourth quarter sold just a little bit more than 16,000 units for a full year of 51,744 units, up 27% year over year. So Mach-E still doing well. And then the F-150 Lightning slipped a little bit this quarter at 10,000 units, but it probably outsold the Cybertruck. More likely than not, it outsold the Cybertruck in Q4 in the US. No, it definitely outsold the Cybertruck because Tesla's numbers also include Canada and Mexico too. So yeah, it's definitely the Lightning definitely outsold the Cybertruck. Total year 33,500. So Tesla definitely outsold them total for the whole year, but not in Q4. It's up 38% year over year. So the Lightning is still gaining some momentum, but we talked about that last week a little bit. But we think the next gen platform coming out next year is going to be the real, the more complete electric pickup truck from Ford. The E-Transit not doing bad, 64% up in 2024, 12,000 units. So everything is up in Q4 except the Lightning, but everything is way up, as you can see here on the right side, for the full year. So even in the US, like the EV market outside of Tesla, doing very well. And then the Honda Prologue that we talked about earlier, the little brother of the Equinox, reached a total of over 33,000 units in 2024. So
That's a lot.
Yeah, did we remember what we said about the Equinox? Like it was a little bit lower than that. It was like 28,000.
Yeah, it was lower.
28,000, and the Prologue was only available since like Q in March, so it wasn't even a full year production. So it is popular, and it sold almost 8,000 units in December alone. Like yeah, we've seen a really big ramp up recently. And it is kind of a GM made vehicle, so
I mean,
GM
I
can.
think it's fully GM. Like even the the logo is the only thing that
Yeah.
is Honda.
So technically, if you add the Prologue to GM's total, they do beat. No, they already beat Ford, but they beat them by almost like 50,000 units, more than 50,000 units. Impressive.
It's funny that it has CarPlay and Android Auto, and the Equinox doesn't. Like it,
And people love it. Like it's a
right?
real difference maker. And then if we look at the Koreans, so Hyundai and Kia, they also haven't had time to look. 24. What are we looking at here in terms of actual numbers? Okay, that's their 800,000 units in the US. That's total for the year. EVs, EV9, 22,000 EV9 last year in the US. I'd be curious to look at the Canadian numbers because I'm starting to see a ton of them here.
Same,
Yeah.
especially on the
EV6.
heating hills.
EV6 is at just short of 28,000 units in 2024. Not bad either. Ioniq 5, 44,000 units, increase of 31% from 2023. But the 2024 model year was a significant, but not a giant refresh, but performance wise, feature wise, it was a big update. So it makes sense that it's up that much. All right. Do we have their total EV numbers percentage wise up? No. And again, I think like I want to make this clear. Like all the other EVs other than Tesla are doing very well in terms of percentage increase. It's just not comparable in terms of deliveries to Model 3 and Model Y, but it's getting closer to Model 3s now. We have some good news for the ID4. It looks like VW finally has a fix on the recall that happened earlier this year. So production and sales are starting back up in Tennessee. So you can expect to see a little bit more VW ID4s around soon. Do we have the sales numbers on those?
I mean, I think they stopped sales for almost a quarter, right?
Yes, it's not doing very well, but you might. No, it's probably down for the full year, but. And looking at the Chinese are doing very well, obviously. But we wanted to talk a little bit about Xiaomi, because they came out of nowhere, and it's one of the most beautiful ramp up of production of EVs I've ever seen. They sold 135,000 EVs in 2024, first year of production, and it's well received EV. I mean, it looks like kind of a mix between the Model 3 and the Taycan. To me, it's a beautiful car. And now they released their expectation for 2025. Their second full year production. They target 300,000 EVs, and they plan to do that because they have now the SUV version of the SU7 and the YU7 it's called. And that obviously, they have ambitions to bring that elsewhere in China, not the US, unfortunately. But ramping up 135,000 EVs in the first year, 300,000 in the second year. Like we would go, I don't want to go back to Tesla a lot, but what I'm saying that the competition is coming hot, especially in China. It's extremely hot, and Tesla's biggest market in China. If Tesla doesn't do well in China, it's problematic. I'm really concerned about that company at this point. I think the 2025 is going to be a very, very competitive year. And you also have the Xpeng CEO that came out this week that says that starting this month in January, he believes that there's going to be a new price war in the EV market that's going to launch in China. That's going to make things a little bit crazier. And I love to see it. Like I'm jealous of the Chinese market right now. Like give me another price war in the EV market. Here the price wars are great for consumers.
Yep.
It would be fun to see. All right, let's jump into the comment section.
All right. We got a lot of comments before we even started. John Bilello says, "How will Germany labor increase in November affect opinion requested.
Yeah, I mean that's so we had the delivery numbers this quarter for Tesla. I think you're talking about Tesla here because Tesla did increase the salaries of their workers at Tesla Gigafactory Berlin in November. So this question is specifically about Tesla, and we have an idea of the revenue from those numbers, but the earnings are coming up at the end of the month, and that is the interesting one here because like Rivian, I think Tesla's are going to recognize a lot of tax of the ZEV credit in Q4, which is going to help their earnings. But there is increase in COGS, including this increase in labor in Germany, and also there's a decrease in APR in the average price of the vehicles because of all the incentive. The entire Q4 was like zero financing for a lot of vehicles. There was in the US it's not as bad because it was linked to the FSD, so that counters each other a little bit. But there was also direct discount. There was the increase on the referral program. That's like another $500-600 per vehicles. Like there's a lot of things that's gonna hurt their earnings this week. I'm not a financial analyst. I'm not gonna make a prediction or anything like that. And also, honestly, I'm starting to get a little bit concerned about the books at Tesla. Because last quarter, like a few weeks into the quarter, Tesla guided an increase in COGS. And then out of nowhere, like they surprised it, like, oh, it was actually a decrease in COGS. It's like, what? Like you're supposed to have good visibility into that and know that. And then Tesla, had a big beat on earnings, and it came from that COGS reduction. I was like, ugh. I fought the Tesla Q people for years and years and years with that stuff, but I'm not saying that the books are cooked, but I'm saying that this was that announcement was like, ooh, what? How did that happen? So, if there's another one this quarter, I would be extremely shocked because for the reason I just mentioned.
All right. Happy New Year to Electric Brian and Skeptic saying, assuming we'll get juicy Cybertruck and Rivian sales talk today.
Yes.
Hope it was juicy enough for you. What are you looking forward most this year, and what are you dreading most? Leaning question.
Dreading most in the US. I want to see the exact plan for the phase out, if there are even going to be a phase out of the tax credit in the US. It's gonna be the big factor this year for the US EV market. I know some people are they think that based on IRS rules and all that, there's a chance that it could live on for the whole year and might only be removed next year. I don't know. Again, not a tax expert, so I don't know. So I have a little bit of hope for that. So that would actually result probably in a record year in 2025 for EV sales because people will rush to get it before the end of the year. So that would help. So there's still a little bit of hope, but going forward, that's not the. So that's both what I'm dreading and what I'm looking forward to at the same time. It's a double answer.
Any cars? I mean, obviously, we're the EX30 from Volvo, which is coming out right now.
Mm-hmm.
Any other cars? I mean, Model Y.
Yeah, I'm on the Tesla beat. Like the Tesla is the company I cover the most. Electrek. We have other people that covers the other brands. So yeah, the Model Y. I'm not super excited about because we have a pretty good idea what it's gonna be, and based on the Model 3 too. Model 3 aesthetically, I think was a big update. Feature wise, nothing crazy, and but. It's I would you remember I should talk about that too because we talked about the podcast a lot because I was looking to upgrade this month, didn't happen, and that's purely Tesla's fault. Tesla was supposed to send me my trade-in estimate. I ordered a Model Y, but then throughout this whole thing I wasn't even sure I was going to go with a Model Y. I might have gone with a Model 3 instead, but then I needed my trade-in estimate. And at first, Tesla was responding to me and was like, yeah, we'll get you the estimate. They said one picture that I sent of one side of the car was not appropriate for them. So they asked me for another one. I sent the other one. And then they stopped answering. Of course, that was in the last 2 weeks of the quarter, which always insane. But they kept sending me like automated messages to like, hey, book your delivery, book your delivery, book your delivery. I'm like, I want to know how much you're gonna give me for my car. Like, give me the official estimate for my car. And then they would never answer, and they would just send me automated messages, take your delivery, until the 31st. 31st, a real person reached out to me, and they were like, hey, are you still interested in getting a car right now? Today. They said today. And I'm like, sure. How much are you giving me for my car? Cannot tell you that. No response.
Cannot tell you.
No.
Okay, that's helpful.
Crazy stuff. Like, I think Tesla has serious issues right now, like with these things. Like, I'm not blaming the workers at Tesla for this. I'm sure they're super short staffed, like they're being worked like crazy. End of the year always difficult, but this year probably crazier because technically a record delivery in sales, but with shorter staff, with a bunch of different programs running at once, it probably was insane. So I don't know. So now I'm thinking, do I wait for the Model Y refresh? Do I go with? I was really interested with the Model 3 long range all drive, because I love the Model 3 that I have right now, the way it drives, and it would drive similarly, even better. But the main thing, I would be happy with the Model 3 right now if it had like just a tiny little bit more range, because in the winter it gets rough. So I think it has that with the new Model 3. And quieter too. I was just driving the Lucid Air for a week, and that thing is it's smooth. It's a lot smoother than the Model 3 for sure. It's not as fun to drive, obviously, because it's heavier. It's not as nimble, but most people don't drive that necessarily because it's fun, and drive that because it's a smooth, relaxed drive. Relax, also accelerate like a crazy, but still, it's quiet, just dead quiet. That's luxury for me. I know that the new Model 3 is a lot more quiet. So I was looking for that. So maybe I still do that, or wait for the Model Y. Maybe I'll wait for the Model Y and then do that. I don't know. I think they're still going to be discounting in Q1 too, so I'm not too worried about that.
I would say at this point you might as well wait for Juniper, although it might be quite a while. It hasn't even hit Shanghai yet.
Rumors right now is Chinese New Year.
Makes sense. That's a good time to refit or whatever. So I would also encourage you to drive a Model Y, because it sucks compared to Model 3.
I mean, I've driven the Model Y before, not the new version, obviously, but that's the only thing that's keeping me away from the Model Y. You saying that, and other people saying that too. Like, it's not as fun to drive, and I
mean, you can't put a lot in the back though. That's the thing. Like, you can't put a bike in there, or most bikes. So it's.
And I've been caught a few times. I have it for years now, and I have a pretty good idea of what I can fit in my car. And there was a few times that I'm thinking I can fit that in my car, and then no, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah,
that's annoying. Yeah.
It would have been cool if on the refresh of the Model 3 they made it a hatchback or something, but
But then,
why buy a Model Y, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it. So other cars to think about, the Hyundai Ioniq 7, the third row thing is kind of cool. I definitely want to check that out.
I saw an Ioniq 5N in the wild for the first time today.
Yeah.
It looked cool. Almost ran into a Kia Sorento though, but that was not his fault. That was the fault of the Kia Sorento.
Okay. And what we are not going to see in 2025 is the Roadster going into production. It would be great though, Andrew. I agree it would be, but not going to happen. I don't even think the Roadster is showing up in the Tesla cars of the future thing. I think that it's fully bullshit.
I mean, there's a way to get to the page on the website, but it's not the easiest way. And and I mean, Elon said it's going to be unveiled this year. It's going to go to production. What Elon says these days, especially in the, his credibility in my eyes has been in a downfall for a while. But the last week, oh my God, the last 2 weeks, I couldn't even believe it. Backing the AFD in Germany. which I had to do a deep dive on that and see how crazy that is to back that.
And in the UK now too.
And then in the UK, like Tommy Robinson guy, like I already had a vague idea of him, but I had to do my research again just to make sure. Is like going on a campaign to get that guy released, guy that pled guilty, by the way, is a wild thing to do. Like, did he not do any research on that guy? Like, just the number of arrests he had, like violence, fraud, and now more lately, like misinformation, then contempt of court. Uh, Not a good guy, like at
No.
all. Like a clear fascist, Islamophobe, all that. And Elon is straight up out there. And with that, with him like backing an Islamophobe like that, like crazy, and his daughter saying that he's Islamophobe, and he's like Arabic is like the language of the enemy and all that. I'm like,
Yeah, I wonder. Like, I mean, there's plenty of Muslim
backers of Tesla. Yeah,
employees at Tesla. Like, that's got to be rough. Like,
yeah, yeah. It's not fun at all.
and
It's a
also,
weird
like,
situation.
I have some friends, Muslim friends. They have Teslas. Like,
Ugh.
that's not good.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Andrew also mentions if Tesla had built a normal, traditional looking truck, it would have sold like crazy.
I mean,
It's hard to
would
say.
have sold more like crazy. The design is not the only issue with the Cybertruck. I went on a little bit rant on that on Twitter yesterday. Like, I posted a bunch of Electrek comments. Like our commenters are so funny, but the price was a big deal. Also, is a big deal.
Yeah.
And the range is also a big deal. Like if you look at the million reservation that Tesla had, we have a bunch of tallies that broke down which models that the reservation holders wanted, and the dual motor and tri motor were like head to head. Of course, the tri motor was way less expensive than it was, like $70,000 instead of $100,000. Huge difference, no doubt. But it also was quoted at over 500 miles of range, and Tesla is now quoting it at 300 miles of range. 200-mile difference and $30,000 more expensive. That is the true thing that affected it. Even people, myself included, that was not a fan of the design of the truck, was like, you're going to sell me a $70,000 truck with 500 plus miles of range? I'm buying it. I don't care how it looks. It could have been designed by Homer Simpson. I don't give a shit about it. Like, give me the truck. So that the fact that they didn't do that is like, and there are trucks that are getting like Silverado EV, like a big battery pack and all that, like getting like close to that kind of range. They're a little bit more expensive to that, obviously. So it's the combination of the two, like the more expensive and the miss of the range, plus obviously the design didn't help, I think.
Agree. And it's like the Cybertruck is so obviously a Tesla, like, whereas, if it looked more like a Silverado or F-150 or even a Rivian, like, it wouldn't have been, such a stark thing you see on the street. So, like, if somebody sees you driving a Cybertruck, they know you're kind of like Elon.
Yeah, and that links back to the controversy around Elon. Is like now, like, driving a Cybertruck is kind of like, I'm with Elon, which
Right.
I don't agree with that necessarily. Like, you don't if I drive a Ford doesn't mean that I agree with everything that Jim Farley says.
For sure.
But so the same thing works with that. Is just that the way that Elon is politically, and he's also the richest man in the world, also owns a significant part of Tesla. Unlike Farley, for example, it doesn't. I don't think that Farley owns nowhere near 13% of Ford, I would assume. So there's other aspects to it, obviously.
All right. Mike the Car Geek says earnings call on January 29th. What huge announcement does Elon make to boost expectations?
This one is interesting because, now we are less than 6 months away from Tesla releasing unsupervised full self-driving in California and Texas, according to Elon. That's what he said.
The most recent.
Yeah. So now this call, and I don't think that's happening, or if that maybe in Texas in a very like limited fashion, geofence services a la Waymo, to compete with Waymo in Austin, because Waymo is launching in Austin. So maybe something like that, but not in a consumer vehicle. I'd be shocked if that happens, unless there's a giant exponential improvement in FSD over the next few months, which we've been expecting based on what Elon said for years, and it just never happens. So I don't see that happening. So maybe that Elon's gonna have a tougher time making kind of like huge, crazy announcement now at the earnings call, because he might actually have to temper things when it comes to that. John Lynch says Tesla does not geofence. Do your homework. I know they don't do that. I'm saying that to launch a service with FSD unsupervised right now, it would have to be something geofence like Waymo. That's what I'm saying. And I agree that it would be a change in direction for Tesla. I'm saying that they would need to do that because no regulator would approve unsupervised self-driving with the current performance it has right now. That's a fact. Tesla would need teleoperation, which we know that they're working on. And teleoperation and geofence often go together, John. So do your homework.
All right, moving on. Oh yeah, so as far as the earnings announcement, is there something else? Maybe the AI, robots.
The robots, the AI stuff.
The robots can now do breakdancing. That's going to be. All right. Tesla needs an intervention from a leader focused on survival. At this rate, the federal government will be asked to bail them out to save their stupid charging network.
Oh, I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's survival mode. I think it's, the stock. If the shareholder would recognize that growth is gone, the stock would be destroyed, and that would probably trigger some movement at the leadership level. It's just it's running on delusion right now. So I don't expect that to happen anytime soon. Like if you're a Tesla shareholder still and you're backing Elon still, like you have to have crazy blinder on. Like I see them, like I've been around these guys for a long time. I was a big Elon backer, a big Tesla backer, and you have him promoting neo-Nazi people right now. You have him promoting fascists, and I'm not just talking about Trump here. Like I know people have issues calling Trump a fascist and like that. Tommy Robinson is an outright fascist, and
I think he even calls himself a fascist.
Yeah, he promoted it for years and years. He's been part of parties that he called fascist and neo-fascist, whatever you want to call it. And Elon launched a campaign this week to release this guy who pled guilty to contempt of court after he lied about the situation regarding a kid being attacked in school. It's wild stuff. It's crazy stuff. So if you're like, oh, this is still my guy, Elon Musk, after things like that, is like, you have to agree that Elon has real issues right now. I don't know exactly where it's coming from. Plenty of theories out there, but
like, maybe he's just trying to be controversial, and that's what gets him Twitter engagement, and that's what he's after. But
that's the only thing keeping Twitter alive right now. Like Twitter without like engagement baiting and manufactured controversies and all that, it closed doors. Right. Like there's still some value in Twitter. I still find some value in every now and again, but it's like 1% of what's happening on there. So you cannot survive with 1%. You need all that crazy stuff. But I do think he believes his own bullshit though, to a certain degree, because you cannot do that. You cannot like sell your credibility like that, especially if like you're a billionaire. Like why would you sell your credibility for Twitter? Makes no sense to me.
All right, Skeptic says, I'm not saying it's fair, but you can't buy a Cybertruck without looking like a D-bag. That's not going to help sales. I'd argue.
I mean, D-bag is a big market.
That's true. And it does the Venn diagram of pickup truck owners. And anyway, mid-size pickup with a traditional body structure would rock. Yeah, I keep on saying, like, my God, why doesn't Ford Maverick? Why doesn't Ford make an EV Maverick?
Or even the Cybertruck was supposed to be 5% smaller. That 5% would have made a big difference. I think the Cybertruck would have sold better at just a 5% smaller too.
Yeah, and I really think, I mean, Ford's already got a hybrid Maverick. Like, why not make a plug-in hybrid? I just frustrates the hell out of me that I can't buy a Maverick EV. All right, Elon alienated a good portion of Tesla's customer base with his Trump alliances. I think that goes without saying. Tesla's not even addressing the basic problems of people not being able to get out of a burning car with a manual latch, putting under the plastic tabs. Yeah, but the guy was shot in the head, so
Well,
probably
I don't think he refers just to that specific instances. Yeah, I mean, there's some value to that complaint. I think they could be, but the thing is, the automakers always say like, well, yeah, you have to read the manual. If you know it, it's like not that difficult to access it. It's just people don't know their cars very well. It's not only the
yeah,
fault of
and
the
maybe you're not
automaker.
in the back. Like maybe you're
Yeah,
giving a ride to somebody when it catches on
yeah,
fire, and like, hey, I didn't read the
yeah.
manual of this car that I'm sitting in the back of.
Hmm.
Like, gotta be hard. So,
It is a legit complaint, though. I think.
all right, Carl and San Diego, the real sheets of the LFP Model 3 don't even have that latch pull. That should be it. And it's a recall to put one in. Uh, has there ever been a car battery fire involving an LFP equipped EV? Do we know about that? Seems like they should have major talking point for marketing EVs or batteries that aren't susceptible to runaway fires.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
we don't see like Tesla Model 3, Model Y fires that much these days. To be honest with you,
Yeah,
like it's been a
with
while since.
either type.
Yeah.
All right, Carl's got a wild prediction for 2025. I predict Rivian, Aptera, Nissan, Honda merger. Lucid will be acquired by Ford. GM will declare a parts shortage to stop the bleeding from the large battery pickups. Okay.
Okay.
Skeptic LFPs also burn long and hard. The ignition point is different. The early reports that LFP are fireproof are mostly hype. We haven't seen one though. Oh, I've
Yeah.
seen videos of LFP being punctured without igniting, so that they were okay.
Yeah, but that's true. They don't. They are. It's hard to ignite an LFP cell.
All variants of GM's Blazer, Prologue, Lyric, Blazer EV, etc. are added up. Where does it rank in model sales? I mean, you could almost add the Equinox to the Blazer. It's not that different of a car, and
Yeah.
the so, and then the Lyric is actually a Blazer too.
Mm.
Oh yeah, they added
The
that. All right.
lyric all black looks kind of badass. Like
Yeah,
I saw it today. Like I was like, man, this is a good looking car all black.
yeah, and Cadillac's got two more cars we're gonna look at in February, so
Hmm.
we're excited about that. All right, Happy New Year, everyone. So I mentioned before that I bought an M Model 3 Performance. I also waiting for delivery of Ford Maverick all-wheel drive hybrid. The interesting thing is that on Ford forums, I noticed that I also have a Model 3. I wonder how many Tesla owners are going for the hybrid truck because they don't want to spend more than 34K.
It
And
is so cheap, the Maverick, for like it's for what it is. Like it's impressive.
yeah, it's surprising that it's not easier to make an EV version.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't do as much truck things that like some of the bigger trucks, obviously, but it's not that far off of of a Cybertruck for a third of the price. Like, it's impressive.
All right, we're talking about Puerto Rico power outage. Obviously Tesla and other battery backups are helpful there, but unfortunately, politics and corruption is terrible. So,
Yeah, we've heard a lot of that from Puerto Rico. Like, it's hard to get the money to the right places, unfortunately.
Spikes 43 says, somebody got the map hybrid. I'm holding out hope for the next generation F-150. That's also something we should hear a lot about in 2025. So
Yeah.
hopefully Ford has that. Tesla should really up their delivery quality. Owners expecting issues and then having an immediate service ticket a month out isn't a great customer experience.
I want to address that real quick because I'm working on a follow up article on my R 4.1 thing. Because I've since I reported on that, and I'm really disappointed that not more people are reporting on this issue because it is a big issue, and a lot of customers has reached out to me, and I'm trying to get an idea now of like the wait time to get your new computer. Because I have some people that reached out to me and they said like they were being quoted like February, and now the brand new car is sitting without a working computer very well and having like some serious issues, like obviously all the features don't work, but also like they are getting like a 5% degradation per day, um, when the car is not parked, 5% every day. So like people that are not cannot plug in all the time are kind of screwed because like a few days and they can be out of power. It's a really big issue. So if you are, I know a lot of our listeners and readers bought a car in the last few months and they are in this situation. If you can reach out to me and tell me like when Tesla is telling you that you're gonna get your new computer, I would like to get like an average on that because it looks like it's months at time and some consumer or some buyers are very concerned too because they are afraid that it might also result in like a faster degradation of their battery period. So they have the brand new car that's getting like affected, like a faster wear on the vehicle. And I cannot confirm that, but I would share the concern if I was them. So if you are in this situation, you can reach out to me at Fred at Electrek.co.
All right. We took delivery of the ID Buzz on Christmas Eve, best large
Oh,
family vehicle since the Mercedes R-Class. Dealers are getting them everywhere. Don't pay adjusted market value. Buying one is possible without paying that BS. 6-seaters, Corns chairs is the way to go. Loving it so far. I saw a car, car carrier semi with a bunch of ID Buzzes
that's
up
quite a
here.
sight.
Yeah, so they are definitely hitting the dealerships now. I guess that was coming up from Tennessee. Oh, I think they actually make them in Germany still.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully VW gets the message like, hey, this is a big product. Make them in Tennessee. So you get all the advantages. They've already kind of missed the boat on that. But frustrating that VW hasn't really, that's an iconic vehicle. It could be big. Bernie Sanders noted that 30% of new tech workers in USA are H-1Bs. He's calling for review oversight. Has he reached out to you, Fred, to learn more about whistleblowers at Tesla regarding layoffs, H-1B?
No,
Has Bernie reached out to you? Have you talked to Bernie?
I haven't talked to Bernie in a while. No, I
Okay.
love Bernie though. He's a good guy. That was a report that I had last week. It's a bunch of Tesla workers that said because when Elon went crazy with the HB1, he got a few of his newfound friend on the right pretty upset about that one. I was I'm not familiar with the visa system in the U.S., but I was looking into it, and then a bunch of my sources at Tesla and former Tesla people too that were laid off earlier this year reached out to me, and they're like, yeah, some of the people that were laid off earlier this year had been replaced, and I'm sure it's legal the way that Tesla does it. Like, it's not exactly like, oh, this American guy is let go and then they bring out someone on an HB1 visa for the specific job. It's more like a different job, but it turns out just happens that you end up with the same responsibility at the end of the day. It's something like that, obviously. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing. But my main thing that, from my discussions with those people was that what they see as the problem is they see people at Tesla not working exactly the way that they were a few years ago when everybody was about the mission. And Elon likes to work his worker 60-80 hours a week. For him that's normal, and when people don't do that, he don't like them. And that was something that people would do willingly when they do it for the mission. But with Elon's shift lately and the focus on FSD rather than growing the EV business, rather than accelerating the EV adoption, backing Trump, backing the removal of the incentives, all that, you're like, is Tesla really about the mission anymore? There's a real concern about that. And, it's harder if you don't have a mission statement like that to go for. It's harder to give your whole life to Tesla. It's a little bit easier if Tesla is the sponsor of your visa, and they work in. People like to point out, oh, we have laws in place for that. You cannot. It's not like what is the word, like indented servitude? No,
Indentured servitude.
indentured servitude. It's not. There's a lot of people criticize the H-1B visa for being close to that, and they say we have rules in place for that and everything. I'm sure there is, but at the core of it, the way it works, from my understanding, for those people, Tesla and other companies, they use agencies that have linked to other countries. India is a very popular one for that because they have great school programs there and it's cheap. So they produce a lot of great engineers and all that, and they work them really hard. And there's we have a bunch of them more coming, a bunch of them, they're graduating and they want the visas and all that. So there's a threat of being replaced, and also just simply people from other countries like India are more used to working harder because they have a 6-week work week there, a 6-day work week. So that helps too, obviously. But it does put pressure on the U.S. job market. And I posted this article because I think it was good context within Elon going crazy on the H-1B visa and saying F you to people that were fighting him on it on the right, saying that he's gonna die on this and all that, saying that the reason that he is in the U.S. And other people that build Tesla and SpaceX in the U.S. is because of the H-1B visa, when he didn't even come to the U.S. on the H-1B visa. He came on a student visa. What are you talking about? Not only that, your own brother admitted that you and him were illegal immigrants during your Zip2 startup.
Yeah.
As far as I know, Elon never had a work visa before that. Like he tried to work at a company like a Netscape. He tried to work at an internet company in the 90s before starting Zep2. Didn't get the job. Probably because of that. Probably because he didn't have a visa and he didn't want to. He didn't want to pay for it. He didn't want to do it. And then he started Zip2 illegally, apparently. And then once they got an investment, their investors are like, "Yeah, we should probably fix that." That's according to his own brother, who's a board member at Tesla, by the way. So there's real concern about Elon. Is you cannot take what he says seriously anymore. He lies. He's a liar. Simple
All
as
right,
that.
moving on. Spike
Yeah.
43 says, I agree they could use this downturn to improve delivery experience and sales outreach. That's a great point. Like, hey, like you're not growing. Like, why not fix the other stuff that you need fixing?
But instead, they're
Excited.
cutting cost instead because.
And he also mentions, I'm excited about the charging infrastructure. That's a good point. I was thinking about that. Iona just opened its first station. I met the CEO of Iona down at the forget how you pronounce it.
Aptera?
No, it's it's a charging thing from Italy. But anyway, I met him. Seems like a pretty interesting guy, and looks like Iona's gonna have a pretty nice network. Flying J is opening stations pretty rapidly, and charge providers are generally stepping up their game. That's a good point. 2025 might be a good year for charging infrastructure. It's been a couple years since I had a bad charging experience. That was the fault of the charge point operator. Dan Overstay, my wife bought a Lucid, so I kept her Model S instead of buying a pickup truck. That hatchback is so useful. Yeah, what'd you think of the hatchback on the Lucid?
So the opening is problematic. I just realized my laptop is not charging for some reason. It's plugged in. That's weird. Like, I just have like 5% power, but anyway.
We'll see you soon.
The opening is indeed not ideal. I agree with it. So you have to think about how you get things in. But however, once it is in, there's plenty of room. Like it's so deep. Like their power trains are so small. So the underneath, it's flat. So you have a lot of you have room for flat things. But if you open the front and the back trunk underneath, it's massive. So there's plenty of room. But the opening is problematic. I'm not gonna lie.
All right. Moving on. Elon's new brand is criminal. He sees the best outcome when he partners in crime. That's debatable, I guess, maybe. Hey, guys, have a 2018 Model 3 and looking to buy a new car. Really would like your thoughts on Rivian versus Tesla. I think you need to open up your market a little more.
Especially if you go Rivian, you're gonna go bigger, a lot bigger than like there's no Rivian that's comparable to a Model 3 right now. So I don't know. Would need more information here.
BMW i4, like that's a nice vehicle. A lot of people really like those EQE, EQS from Mercedes. If you're looking at a $60,000-$70,000 car, in the like a nice Ioniq 5 or a Genesis if you want a better car. A lot of good options out there. I mean, Rivian's great for pickup. All right, Musk's image is tanking fast. Dave A really went off Tesla, but we'll miss FSD. There's a Rivian software innovation, seems really slow. Dave A, I know exactly what you're saying about that. I have a Tesla with full self-driving. It really does help, especially those like long evening things where you're getting kind of sleepy. But I would say I also have a Rivian, and Rivian is nowhere close in terms of full self-driving. I was on the interstate the other day coming down from Albany to the New York City area, and there was some old painted lines from construction, and the Rivian like took the like old construction lines and basically crossed like 2 lanes of traffic. I was like, holy crap, this is like really bad. So Rivian's is not even close to anything in full self-driving. I mean, I would go to Mercedes or Ford, Blue Cruise, even GM Super Cruise is going to be a little bit better than Rivian right now. Rivian's got the hardware, they just don't have the software, and I don't think
the new hardware suite is impressive on the next gen Rivian, but like you said, they just haven't caught up on the software just yet. So
yeah. All right, Tom McKee, when Elon and Trump have their falling out, will Elon move out of Mar-a-Lago
and into the White House?
Yeah.
But a lot of people have good points about that. Where like technically, like if he becomes like an official government employee at Doge, whatever you want to call it, the new department, can he really
All right,
just still be CEO at Tesla? Makes no sense.
all right. I'm just gonna keep going here because it's running out of time. Which
Yeah, we
legacy automaker can you see compete with a cheap Chinese car?
none.
Maybe Hyundai, Kia, maybe GM. I don't know. It's hard to imagine, to be honest with you, because those
In China, no one. It's like the
right.
Tesla is the only one that had like good success with a wholly owned factory and all that. Like the Tesla did extremely well with that. That's why Elon Musk is a globalist and pro China. There's no doubt about it because he made that happen. But so in China, you can forget it. Outside of China, yeah, probably legacy automakers. I would agree. Like Hyundai, Kia, they're doing well on that front.
Arumi says every dealer here in Denver is absolutely flooded with inventory. I think it would just be Tesla and Chinese EVs in 10 years. I don't think other players will survive except for niche areas. It'll be interesting to see. I own a 2024 Model 3 all-wheel drive, no complaints. I gotta say though, I'm liking what I've seen with the Polestar 4.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
I'm supposed to drive that next month.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
be good to hear. If money were no issue at all, I think I'd be driving a Buzz too.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
It's not cheap, and also like the range is pretty mediocre,
Yeah.
especially for like a trip vehicle.
And when I drove it, the only thing I didn't like is the windshield or the view on the windshield is like a little bit low.
Yeah,
So sometimes, like if you're at the
red
first of the
lights.
stop line, like you have to like do that to look. It's not
Yeah.
ideal.
All right. Stopped by the Rivian factory in Normal, Illinois last week. That's a company with a mission that's more than just words on a tweet. Okay, that's true.
Agree.
I agree. Uh, has anyone researched detailed Elon's path from student visa to citizenship? Wikipedia makes it sound like he just magically became a citizen by choice, which is not an option in the U.S. There have been some documentaries about it. It sounds like it was illegal, but covered up nicely. So
Yeah.
I'm
I
sure.
mean, there's a famous interview with him and his brother when his brother admits it, and
Yeah.
Elon, like, he's like,
He's like, yeah. Right. All right. Alpatronics said that's what I meant.
we
Make
have
the
some.
Iona Chargers and are good people. That's why the Iona CEO was at the Alpatronics thing.
That's a good thing. We have the commenters. They know more than us sometimes. You like you
Exactly.
forget a word, you forget a thing. Like they are on us. So I appreciate you, Mike, the car geek. Well, he's a car geek, so he should know. That's it for us this week. That's it for the first show of 2025. We have 52 more, no, 51 more of these shows coming up this year. We love it when you join us. We love it when you hit the subscribe button, when you hit the like button, when you leave a comment down there. All these things are free to do, but they help more than you think. So we appreciate when you do it. And yeah, that's it for this week. We're going to see you same time, same place next